Hey everybody, Brian and Rachel Goulet here from gouletpens.com, and we have kind of a different type of video here today. This is just a little update video, a little insight into some of the logistical things we got going on at Goulet Pens. This is really talking about something that we do called nib sharing.
Also nib swapping, things like that.
Yeah, basically...
Let's rewind a couple years.
Yeah.
Give some history.
Yeah. So I've got some notes over here. We're covering a lot of different things in this video, as you can tell by the length of it, so just bear with us. But, you know, going back to our earliest days when we started out, we didn't even sell fountain pens for the first year of our business. It was just ink and paper. So when we first got into pens, we were so excited and we wanted to offer as much as we could, but we really just didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah, landing Lamy and Pilot, that was March of 2011. That was a big deal. These brands traditionally didn't sell to online retailers, and we had been in business for, what, a year and a half, just starting to try to make a name for ourselves. So landing them at all was a big deal. So it's like, great, now we have access to their catalogs. However, we just didn't have the money to carry everything.
Right.
So, you know you guys. We're one of you. We love fountain pens. We love options. We love everything. We're trying to figure out how can we possibly bring all of these options, you know, the Safari and all the nib sizes and the Vanishing point. How can we bring these to everyone and still be sensitive to our cash? We are a, no debt company. We've tried to grow organically that way. But, we're super excited. So we got a little creative. Some of these pens, the Lamy pens, as you know, have replaceable nibs.
Yep.
The Vanishing Point also is another example, has a replaceable nib unit. You can buy a separate nib as well as the one that comes on the pen. So we're thinking to ourselves, hey, since we can buy replacement nibs, why don't we just keep less bodies on hand, buy a bunch of spare nibs in other sizes, and that way we can just swap stuff out as we get orders.
Yeah,
it was a great way to keep
the body was the most expensive part, so we
Yeah.
can get the nibs that are cheaper, swap them out, and that was a big win for us in the early days of the business.
And we've been doing that for three and a half years ever since as we've grown. It's been a great way for us to keep as much stuff in stock as possible. That way, like say our distributor's out of the Lamy Safari blue medium, but they have blue fines. And say we have a red Safari medium. We could take the medium nib from the red Safari and stick it on the blue Safari, and that way it's always in stock. So it's a win for you, it's a win for us. Things are going really well. It was a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
Because no one else is really doing it, and we didn't really understand why. We're just like, hey, we're doing this cool thing.
This seems like common sense to us. Of course, we understand why now, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Our vendors are always like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And, we kind of explain, and they kind of get it.
They're like, okay, that makes sense. I can see the win for that for customers. And we're like, yeah, this seems to be, this is win-win all around, right?
Yeah, so this all seems good. So why are we here? Why are we here today? Well, unfortunately, our plan was we didn't have a long-term vision. You guys know that we've been growing. You've seen us hire new folks. We've moved and stuff. Obviously, our sales have been growing as well as our inventory. It's created some challenges.
It has. Keeping in mind, during this time, we've gone from the two of us alone working in our garage to now we are just hiring our 24th right now. So that's been in 3 years. So, we've seen a little bit of transition going on here.
So basically what's happening is certain pens, like I'll take the Lamy Safari, that's a great example.
Yeah.
From our distributor, from the manufacturer, they only produce it in extra fine, fine, medium, and broad. So, and always in the color to match the trim. So if it's a, charcoal Safari, it has the black trim, it comes with the black nibs. We had been offering italics and mismatched color because we thought, why the heck not? I mean, options, right? I love the italic nib. The 1.1 is my favorite.
Absolutely.
So, we've been doing that for a while. But the problem is, we sell the pen. Say we sell a Safari with an italic nib, right? So we bought this Safari with, say, a fine nib. We're selling it with this italic nib we bought separately. So now we have this spare fine nib. Repeat. All of a sudden, we find that, holy moly, we have more fine, medium, these standard nib sizes than we know what to do with. And
we can try discounting them. We can try selling them, but they're not selling as quickly as the other nibs are selling on the pens.
Well, I mean, they are, don't get me wrong, they are the most popular sizes. The majority of our sales are made up of these traditional sizes. But over time, as the volume increases, the situation just gets a little worse. You can see a little graph here of, the stock level on hand versus our sales. In order to keep stuff fully stocked all the time, including the body, including the sizes, it's just resulted in this big discrepancy over time. So, at first it wasn't a big deal. We didn't really notice it. We're like, we have like all these nibs on hand. Like, oh, who gets the short straw? It has to count them during physical inventory, because it was always like the big thing. And then we started looking at the numbers and the dollars. We're like,
wow,
we got a lot sitting on the shelf. And we're looking as we grow and projecting out, we're like, this isn't getting better. This is kind of a problem.
Yeah.
And I know for you guys, you're thinking like, oh, what does it matter how much money you have on the shelf? Well, you know what? There's other stuff we could be doing. We could be carrying new lines of other things. We could hire more people to do more.
Literally, there's whole new pen lines we could carry if we could get rid of these nibs.
It's not really get rid of. I mean, they're good nibs and everything. They need a loving home.
From a business case standpoint, that's cash that we have that's sitting on the shelf that could be put towards other things. That's cash that's not doing you any good that we could be putting towards offering other stuff.
Well, not only that, but let me walk you through what actually happens when our shipment arrives. So we order our weekly or biweekly shipment, from a vendor. It arrives. We say it's a Lamy shipment. It arrives. We check everything off. We have to open up every single pen box, take out the pen, open it up, pull off the nib, which, Lamy's easy. Some other brands like Monteverde, they're a little tougher to get those nibs out. Pilot, you have to take the whole thing apart. We have to take all the stickers off the pen, all the stickers off the box because, now we're mixing and matching the sizes, so we don't want to reflect the wrong thing. We have to store the nibs separately. They have to be labeled. The body has to be labeled separately. So it takes a while just in receiving. Then, when you actually place your order, we go to our warehouse and they're like, okay, blue Safari with a 1.1 nib. Have to pull the blue pen, pull the italic nib, put it on there, put it in the box, get it all labeled, get it all checked off. It's time consuming. So it's labor costs as well as time that we're spending in just all this extra work, and we're not charging anything more for it. We've never charged more. We always thought is like, oh, this is, we're a small business. This is an extra service we can provide. So,
which we've been happy to do. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we've been doing it for 3.5 years, so it's been great so far.
And there have been a couple little website limitations, like the back in stock notification that you guys are used to. You can't tell this from the front end, but from the back end, anything that has the nib sharing, that option isn't available. So if we're out of extra fine black nibs, and you want to buy, the Charcoal Safari with an extra fine black nib, we're out of that nib, there's no way for the website to allow you to sign up for that combination. So we've had some limitations we've kind of worked around, but really it's just come to kind of hit a critical mass of the stock overages and all the work we're spending. So it's been a difficult decision. Basically,
really
what we're here, and we've been wrestling with this for weeks, believe me. The decision we've arrived to is we are going to stop offering nibs that don't come on the pens from our manufacturers. We're going to stop nib sharing, meaning whatever we order from our vendor, blue Safari, fine, is going to remain in the box with all the stickers, be put on the shelf. You're going to order blue Safari fine nib, we'll take it off and send it out to you that way. So we're not going to be denibbing and renibbing and denibbing and
essentially
renibbing.
Disassembling and reassembling your pen.
We're kind of franken-penning a lot of these things. And,
we've kind of been getting some, questions about it from Lamy and Pilot and stuff like that, and they understand.
They've been incredibly supportive, and they are awesome vendors. But, we're basically not doing what the manufacturer intended to be done. These are supposed to be done by the end user.
Yeah.
So we're going to be changing over on June 25th. This is a Wednesday. This is during our quarterly physical inventory. Why are we doing it then? We kind of have to bring down the site in order to make the transfer because all the product codes are changing, the website structure, all these things. We have all the orders to process, so we were having a hard time seeing how we could do it midstream.
Yeah.
So we're giving you advance notice. We didn't want to pull out the rug from under you, be like, hey, guess what? We have less options on our site now, and sorry, too bad. We wanted to be transparent and give you guys a little insight into this decision and what's happening. So I guess we should talk about what pens are actually affected. Because it's not like our whole site.
No.
It's really just like a small subset.
Really, Lamy and Pilot are the main ones. So let's talk about Lamy, what that's going to mean. Because that's kind of the big one.
So this is just the steel nib pens. Doesn't affect the 2000, doesn't affect anything with a gold nib. It's just anything with a steel nib, one of the replaceable ones. So basically, none of the pens come with italics except for the Joy. So the Joy will be offered with the italics. Everything else will not. It'll generally be the extra fine, medium, broad. There may be a couple variations in there, but for the most part, that's what you'll see.
Yeah.
We won't be offering mismatched color anymore either. So if you want to put a black nib on your white pen, you have to get that nib separately. It's only going to come with the nib that matches the trim, which most of you do. So most of you aren't affected by this at all.
Right.
But some of you like to, be a little different, and, we embrace your weirdness. But,
Well, we just...
our manufacturer doesn't, unfortunately.
You'll have to do that as an extra step now.
So that's Lamy. Then we have the Pilot Vanishing Point, which also includes the Firmo. So we'll only be offering the Vanishing Point in the color that matches the trim, which, again, isn't a big deal. Most of you pick that anyway. Expensive pens, you kind of want things to be a little matchy-matchy, and I totally get that. There is a small downside to that. Not all of the pens come with an extra fine nib yet. Some of the SKUs do. Some are coming later this year. They've given us a date. We're working directly with them to see if we can influence them to offer it on all the SKUs. If you go back in time, you remember the extra fine didn't always exist. In fact, the rhodium plated didn't even exist. It was always the yellow, golden, fine, medium, broad. Then they introduced the extra fine and the rhodium, and then came the black. I think it's just taking a little bit of time. Eventually, I don't know. I feel like it'll eventually be on all the SKUs. However, there may be some supply issues that we don't know about. I know that when we buy extra fine nib units, so that we can swap them out on the pens that don't come with it, often we do run into stock shortages.
Right.
So, and the same is true with Lamy. Like, the extra fine requires a little bit extra work, so they sometimes don't have enough supply to meet the demand.
Well, and it's a Japanese pen company too. We know that extra fines are more popular in Japan than they are in the U.S.
So we don't know.
I would imagine that stock is allocated
we're
there.
totally speculating. I don't know where all the stock goes, but I would understand if it just takes a little bit longer for the extra fine to be readily available.
Yeah.
But we are actively working with them because we know you guys want this because we've seen the sales. So we're going to work hard to get it on all the pens. The last one is Monteverde. You're actually not going to see any changes to the nib sizes at all, but the mismatched color nib option is something that will be taken away. But looking at the data, most of you don't leverage that anyway. I mean, stealth pen, black nib, come on, it makes sense.
It's worth mentioning, but
so I'm just throwing it out there in case you see any little changes on the site and you're like, what happened? Just letting you guys know that. So that's the changes on the site. What you might see, at least for the next couple months, we're working on some longer term website changes, but at least for this initial change, instead of having all the sizes rolled up on one page, you might see kind of, a page for the fine, a page for the medium, a page for the broad. It's a little bit more cluttered, and I totally hear you. It's not ideal. Trust me, I'm working on some pretty cool stuff with our website. Can't say just yet. I'm super excited. So just bear with us. We know it's not ideal, but we are working on some cool stuff. And that's part of why we're doing some of these things, is because we have a lot of cool stuff in the works that we need to have the resources freed up to be able to do.
So wait, do we have cool stuff in the works?
We have cool stuff in the works. I'm so excited. This is my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So
as you can tell, she lives very much in this world. I do a lot of the talking in most of the videos, and I'm kind of the face man a little bit. But
I'm in charge of the inventory.
So much of what actually works around here is because of Rachel's logistical management.
The accounting, the website, inventory, all the stuff. That's my wheelhouse, and that's where I live. And I'm okay not being, the face man all the time. Yeah. But
being real with you, though,
we're being real. We know this is a bummer. This is a major bummer. It's a bummer to us. I wish we could buy these pens with all the options.
We have been wrestling with this for some time, and just like our hearts sank when we were like, are we really going to have to roll this back? Like, is there any way we can make this work?
We keep looking at the numbers and crunching the numbers. It's kind of like hitting that button, crunch. It's like, crap, it's the same results.
And we're not like this strictly like bottom line, oriented company, but it has to make sense. It's to the point where we can't share any numbers, but it's just outright ridiculous how many of these nibs that we have. Just seriously ridiculous. So, that said, our empathy that we have for you as our customers is the reason that we've kept it going this long, really longer than any other business would have in a similar situation.
Well, the thing to remember is this is for a long-term benefit. It's kind of like a short-term pain. But this is going to help us do more cool stuff for you by freeing up not just the cash, freeing up the resources. We're going to be able to get stuff online faster when it comes in the door. We're going to be able to get your orders out the door faster, because if we're not having to reassemble nibs and kind of, doing that whole thing, we'll be able to just pull it off the shelf, make sure it's the right thing, get it out the door. So we'll be able to ship faster.
And this was a decision that we really made as a whole company. We had team meetings about this several times, several weeks in a row. We were thinking like, is this really a good decision? What are the drawbacks? What are the benefits? And we've kind of all just come to the conclusion like this just has to happen. And
now, just remembering, you're still going to be able to get everything you want.
Yeah.
You can buy all the nibs we have are available as replacement nibs. So we're not taking away any product. You're just not going to be able to get the custom combination on the pen when you buy it. Now, we are trying to help you out here because we want to kind of meet you halfway. We know it's a bummer. So I'm working really hard to figure out a way to discount a spare nib with purchase of a pen. After we make the change, of course, not in the next couple weeks, but once we change over. So when you buy that extra fine Safari, you can get that 1.1 as a spare nib, for a discount to kind of soften the blow a little bit, help, keep your trust with us that, we're going to give you all the great service and everything that you're used to. But, we understand money is important too. So if there's a way we could kind of sweeten the deal a bit, we're working on that.
Yeah, we'll try and figure out everything that we can.
Yeah,
it's a lot of stuff. I know this is a long video. Thanks for hanging in there till the end.
Trust us, we got cool stuff coming.
We do. You've said that like 8 times.
I'm excited.
But anyway, no, seriously, like, we could have just put this in a blog post. We could have just not even said anything and just made this change. But once we really kind of sat down and said, okay, what is it really going to be like as a loyal fan customer of ours to receive this news? It's going to be a bummer. And like, we really wanted to have it come across like how hard this decision was for us. And just like, we are there with you. And, we wish that we could offer you everything in the world, but we have to operate within
and we're going to advocate for it. We're going to work with our manufacturers, see just what options we have.
Yeah. So that said, we'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments. We're happy to answer any questions that you have about this. I don't know what questions you could have because we pretty darn well covered about everything that we do. But,
In the meantime, for the next, until June 25th, whenever you're watching this through then, take advantage of the custom Franken combinations we have.
Absolutely. And, we're always looking out for you. So
we care.
We do. We really do. So thanks so much for watching this. Thanks for continuing to support our company. We love being able to do what we do for you guys.
We do.
And
right
on.